What we are being told is that the Luthra Brothers, remember, who fled to Phuket, have now been seeking an anticipatory bail. The Luthra Brothers have in fact sought this anticipatory bail.
All right, now bringing you a CNN News 18 mega exclusive on this Goa nightclub tragedy. Documents reveal that repeated warnings over illegal construction and safety violations at a club in Goa were ignored for the past 2 years, which finally culminated in this tragic accident. The club was built in a restricted area on land officially designated as salt pan and agricultural wetland, where commercial construction is strictly prohibited. So we're learning more about the illegal nature of this club. Also, despite this, the property had a club, restaurant, RCCG plus one building, water platform, decks and shops, all operating without any license or any sort of clearance. This is what we're learning right now also. So this was just from what we are learning right now, a disaster waiting to happen. For more on this, we have with us Simran. Simran, thank you so much for joining us. Now, the more we learn about this, the more we understand that this was truly just a recipe for a disaster waiting to happen.
Very rightly said. In fact, the documents that we have accessed in this regard go on to show now the repeated warnings that were time and again being ignored, and not just in fact to this very property, but the entire land that was encroached, that was illegally being operated. And if we speak of these documents one by one, starting by the demolition notice that was sent by the under section 66 of the Goa Panchayat, where it was mentioned that on the complaint that was lodged by the whistleblower Pradeep Ghadi Amonkar, and this demolition notice that has been sent here. And while we speak of the inspection notice that was also sent to this very property at the Arpora Road, which was also in fact having the names of both the Luthra brothers. The demolition notice that I have right now mentions clearly that it was issued on the 20th of the April last year. It also had attached the notices of the site inspection notice that was on the complaint of the illegal construction. So if we understand both of these in context, first, in fact, the demolition notice was put up on the basis of how exactly the warnings that have been repeatedly sent were time and again ignored. And it has mentioned the times where the checks were being regulated. It was being sent also time and again on the procedural basis to the property owners. Later on, the site inspection notice that we have next, and I would also like to show it to my viewers while we speak of this site inspection notice. It goes on to also mention that the Panchayat copy is also mentioned here, where the Goa Panchayat Raj Act 1994 of the Act 14 mentions that the site inspection notice was issued under this letter simultaneously was carried out on the 17th of January 2024. Last year, it was found out that you have carried out unauthorized construction of the shop, not just the nightclub, but restaurants, 6 number of structures, all of this being operated on the CRZ zone without any proper license. And not just of that, it also had 2 numbers of platform in the alleged salt pan located at this very plot of the village Arpora. Now, to begin with, how exactly this nexus was being operated, was being flouted. It was happening under the guise of these officials of the Goa, in fact, MCD as well, where the village Arpora situated in the Bardes, they had also flouted this for a long time. The legal battle from the actual owner, where he had bought this land and sent to Mr. Khosla, is also named in these copies that we have with us on our screens. And through that, in fact, we understand that time and again these repeated warnings were flouted. And all of these owners, along with the partners as well, are named in these complaints, and these complaints only go on to show the extent till which all of the warnings that were sent by the Goa Panchayat, by the site inspection officials as well, were ignored one after the other.
Absolutely, Simran. Now, of course, based on the response of the club owners, also the Mr. Gupta, who has now been detained, of course, their response to this has left much to be desired. They don't seem to care much about what has gone on, let alone caring about making sure that all permissions, all clearances were in place. That being said, what you are saying that this was a CRZ restricted area and on land officially designated as a salt pan agricultural wetland, where commercial construction, we all know, is strictly prohibited. That being said, do you think this points to further systemic issues and lapses also?
Absolutely, Hem. As you have rightly pointed out that there were times when there was also enough time given for a reply to be filed and to be sent in this matter, where if we see the document with me right now, it can be understood that it has been mentioned that you have failed to produce any documentary evidence whatsoever in the 15-day time that had been given to you, and proving the legality of the said unauthorized construction of these shops, these restaurants, and the number of structures, which were 6 in total, with the platforms in the alleged salt pan that was located in the same village. And this is the demolition notice that I would also like to show to my viewers for another time, where we see that the site inspection notice had the previous copies as well of the Goa Panchayat order attached with it, where all the persons, including the owners, the partners, the directors, the occupiers of the alleged illegal land which was operating on the unauthorized part and the construction was carrying out, were summoned, and they were also given enough time to be filing a reply, but they have failed that. And following that, they continue to carry out the constructions, not just in that alleged site, but also in the nearby plots which were not taking any kind of prior clearances or any kind of mandates. The site inspection notice also dates back to the last month or the first month of 2024, where the construction has also been cited out to remain present despite the sending of all the legal notices, as we can see.
Right. Well, of course, Simran, thank you so much for showing us that notice also, and thank you so much for bringing us all the details and what it reads like. Now, in more information that we're getting right now, Goa police have arrested Saurabh Luthra's car driver in connection with this case. And according to police sources, the driver's name had surfaced during the interrogation of the Romeo Club manager. So this is what we are learning right now, that the Goa police have now arrested Saurabh Luthra's car driver in connection with this case. And as per the sources, as per police sources, his name came up during interrogations with the manager of the Romeo Club. So for more on this, let's just go across to Yesha, who is on the broadcast with us. Yesha, thank you so much for staying on with us. Of course, another arrest that has been made in connection to the Luthra Brothers and this entire Goa nightclub tragedy. It is the driver of Saurabh Luthra. Now, this is interesting, Yesha, because if you remember, we were discussing this with Ankur a few days yesterday as well, how the drivers, all of their cars were not where they used to be. They completely fled within the span of an hour, hour and a half. They had 6 to 7 cars, nowhere to be found, no one at their residence, no one at the headquarters, but now finally the Saurabh Luthra's car driver has been arrested.
Absolutely. When we speak of this, like we've been speaking of for a couple of days, considering the fact that both the Luthra brothers have escaped, what's important at this point is that cops will try and gather information from anyone close to them or anyone who's present now in the country. This one, last night was when we got to know that Ajay Gupta, who was one of the partners in the club, has been detained. He's being brought to Goa shortly from now. Parallelly, we also see now the driver has also been taken in custody. However, so far when we spoke to Goa police, they've gone further to mention that the questioning is on whether the driver is being arrested or not is something that we'll have to wait to find out. Of course, here the links of that driver has to be certain with Luthra Brothers. Did he have anything to do with the club? All of this will be under the scanner of Goa police, and which is where, considering the fact that Goa police has been in Delhi for a couple of days now, they're trying to establish and draw links to Luthra Brothers who've managed to escape from the country. Here they would in fact want to want to understand how did the Luthra brothers escape.
Absolutely.
That will only be confirmed once they speak to the driver. Yes.
Absolutely. Now, of course, we have more information that we're getting right now. Indian agencies have now, we're given to understand, prepared a legally solid court-ready case holding the owners culpable for deaths due to negligence. But procedural lapses, missing documents and unclear charges have slowed this entire extradition process. Authorities are investigating if the accused perhaps travelled through multiple countries, which complicates coordination with each nation's immigration and requires diplomatic clearance also, which could cause further delays. From what we do know right now for certain is that the Luthra brothers, immediately after the fire broke out at Birch by Romeo Lane, fled to Thailand. This was a 5:30 a.m. Indigo flight that they took. Around 10 a.m. they were in Thailand, in Phuket in Thailand. Now we are given to understand in this in the information that we're just getting right now that Indian agencies have prepared a legally solid and court-ready case holding the owners culpable of deaths due to negligence. However, there may be a couple of other snags that they might face, and that could cause further delays in this case. Also, Yesha, let me just come back to, this is just further proof that this was a well-hatched out, fleshed out plan immediately executed after Birch by Romeo Lane was ravaged by the fire and the 25 lives that were lost. They took an Indigo airline flight on a day when some 600 to 700 flights were cancelled. They managed to avert authorities each step of the way. Really, this was a well-executed plan as of now.
Absolutely. Here this of course raises questions about how within a couple of hours, even before the FIR was filed, even before an LOC could be issued against Luthra Brothers, was where they managed to escape from Delhi. Within a span of less than half an hour or an hour was where they were out of their house. Within less than 5.5 hours of the tragedy, they were already on a flight to Phuket. Now, what's important to note here is that when it comes to connecting with the central agencies and the diplomatic powers of all the countries. So far, we've heard Goa police saying that they'll get Luthra Brothers back very soon. But like we know that it is a long diplomatic process. Though a blue corner notice has been issued, it also means that the treaty that India has with Thailand, they would have to in fact refer to that, and then there'll be diplomatic channels wherein discussions can take place. But one of the loopholes, right here is that if they've managed to escape, have they managed to escape on a valid visa? If not, if they're staying there, it could be easier to get them deported, then get them via diplomatic channels. All of this is something that the agencies are still mulling to understand, and this is of course where the entire to and fro is taking place between the central agencies and Goa police. Yes.
Absolutely, Yesha, and thank you so much for bringing us the latest on this. Of course, as you've mentioned as well, this appears to be a well fleshed out plan, and it's shocking really that within an hour and a half, this all was done within that span, an hour and a half, when they left for the airport, took that flight, Indigo flight from New Delhi to go to Phuket, Thailand. The brothers took their drivers and took their cars. Now we are hearing that one of the drivers of Saurabh Luthra has been arrested, and that could further give us clues as to what really was going on here. But this does really point to a larger nexus here. Perhaps they did have some inside intel on this also.
Then what we are being told is that the Luthra brothers, remember, who fled to Phuket, have now been seeking an anticipatory bail. The Luthra brothers have in fact sought this anticipatory bail before the Rohini court, where it has been filed for, is what we are being told. The absconders in Phuket now seeking that anticipatory bail. You remember just yesterday, one of the brothers was spotted, that picture being accessed from the airport there in Phuket. Let's quickly, in fact, bring in Yesha Kotak, who's joining us live on the broadcast with more details. So, Yesha, on what grounds are they, first of all, seeking this anticipatory bail, and what are the expectations? Or are they even, is there any hope for them to be getting this anticipatory bail?
So, this comes in on unexpected lines. Clearly, when a blue corner notice was issued against the Luthra brothers, it was made quite evident that they'd be moving anticipatory bail after having fled the country, so that on these grounds they could eventually come and say that they've cooperated with the investigation, but not have the chances of being arrested. Clearly with the kind of with the kind of information that has come out in open, one really cannot comment on what will be the order that will be passed by the judge there. But with this whole information, the whole story coming to limelight so often, what's important to note is that, of course, the Luthra brothers would be questioned, for their role in ensuring that the tourists who are coming into their club are in fact protected. So what's important at this point, if we try and understand, is that Luthra brothers, being the owners of Birch by Romeo Lane, it was their responsibility to ensure that all the rules are followed, and those who are coming into the restaurant, or for that matter who are working with them, are kept safe. So these are important aspects if we speak of, for that matter. Now, particularly with 25 lives being lost, if you compare it, the fire that took place in at Delhi a couple of decades back in all the theatres, clearly there were questions raised at that point as well about the safety. A year that we speak of at the fire at Birch by Romeo Lane, in the police investigation there have been several important points that have come to light. One, the fact that when it comes to emergency exit or any kind of a fire safety protocol, that was not followed. So in this instance, it was the responsibility of the Luthra brothers to have ensured that all these safety norms are in place with the kind of footfall that takes place at that very club. Yes.
Absolutely. Now, as far as the Interpol Blue Corner notice is concerned, that was issued on Tuesday. The Goa police have made it amply clear that they are also in close coordination with the CBI. What can you tell us about the status of this Blue Corner notice? Remember, India and Thailand signed an extradition treaty back in 2013. Is there any forward movement on that front, Yesha?
Yes, when we speak of the Blue Corner notice, now this is, of course, despite the fact that India has a treaty with Thailand, what's important to note is that this is, of course, a long procedure. When we spoke to our sources in Goa police yesterday, they went there to confirm that they'd be getting the Luthra brothers back very soon. But, this, of course, is an international affair, and which is where, even for a Blue Corner notice that has been issued in a short span of time, Goa police said that it was an achievement for them in itself. But what's important at this point is that it will be the heads at both the levels of the countries who will have to coordinate, who will have to negotiate, various agencies which will be involved here, and the whole process of getting someone back despite having a Blue Corner notice is not that simple. So here that we speak of, the process is on, by the central agencies, by the Goa police. But, amidst the Blue Corner notice, the fact that Luthra brothers have moved an anticipatory bail in Delhi is something that seems to be a well thought of move.
Absolutely, it does. Stay with me, Yesha, because developments have been happening on this entire front. Thick and fast, more breaking inputs coming in. In fact, what we are being told is that as far as the Goa tragedy case is concerned, Chief Minister Pramod Sawant is all set to address a media press briefing at 11:30 a.m. He will also be, in fact, present with some more ministers. After that meeting, he will be, in fact, addressing the media. Remember, this is a very crucial point, which has also arrived as a moment of introspection, not just for pubs and clubs in Goa, but focus also shifting to other high-profile locations like the metropolitans, even the national capital, Delhi. Let's quickly go across to Yesha, who continues to stay with us. So, Yesha, remember, as far as Goa is concerned, this is the peak of tourism season. This is the peak of travel season. And for such an incident to have happened is bound to act as a dampener for the tourist influx. So what, first of all, can we expect from the Chief Minister's media press briefing today?
So yes, like you rightly mentioned, December being the peak of tourism season for Goa. In fact, just in the last couple of hours that we've in fact been in Goa, we've there's a sense that the fire at Birch by Romeo Lane has clearly affected the whole tourism season for Goa. In fact, Romeo Lane, which was one of the flagship clubs of the Luthra brothers, when that was demolished yesterday, the clubs, restaurants, pubs in and around that very area have also faced the brunt. the same places which would be heavy, which would have a huge inflow of tourists, customers being present to experience Goa nightlife, it was completely dull. And the sense that we get by speaking to locals, it is quite evident that this very incident would affect the tourism season, which is why we see that the Chief Minister has called for this high-level meeting with the ministers today, wherein all the ministers, be it the tourism minister, be it the Panchayati minister, all those who in fact are instrumental in giving permission to these clubs, they'll be present to ensure and to figure out a way, because clearly so far committees have been formed to have SOPs in place for these clubs as well.
And it's interesting that you just mentioned need for SOPs, because now attention and focus is shifting to the larger problem, not just in Goa but in other cities as well, in terms of our fire safety norms being followed.
Rightly so. When we speak of the fire safety norm, that was one of the reason why the fire at Birch by Romeo Lane broke out. When police investigation was put in place, the 2023 permission that was given to this very club was highlighted, and when when this very instance was highlighted, it had come to fore that the fire NOC, the other NOCs, they were all missing. So far as the day when the incident took place, there was a fire show that was held. When it comes to this very fire show, there was no permission that was sought for that fire show, despite the owners knowing that this could lead to an untoward incident. So, like you've been speaking about, of course, there's been several reality checks that have been done across the country to find out whether such fire safety norms are being followed at various clubs across the country. But when you speak of such clubs, such restaurants, it's not just in Goa. Of course, this is a perennial problem in Goa, particularly because there's so many clubs, there's so many restaurants, and that's the reason why tourists visit here.
Okay.
But if we recollect the Kamla Mills fire in Mumbai, wherein, of course, there were around 20 people who lost their lives, same around December time, a couple of years back, it would have been around 4 or 5 years back, was when that Kamla Mills fire broke out. That was also again in a posh Mumbai locality, a place which was known to be crowded by people over the weekend. And even then, in that instance as well, there were fire safety norms that were flouted. So this is not just a problem with one state, it's a problem that people keep facing. And when it comes to this whole restaurant, hotel industry, several times there are permissions that are given, some of the other permissions are flouted, some of the rules are flouted. So this is a perennial problem that one really needs to look at a macro level.
All right, many thanks to you, Yesha, for bringing us all those latest inputs on these breaking news stories. In fact, staying with the Goa Inferno tragedy, what we can tell you is that developments have been happening. In fact, CNN News 18 has accessed the GST copy. Why is this so significant right now? Because in this GST copy, there is the name of the 3 partners. If you look at the names, there are the 3 owners as far as the Luthra Brothers are concerned, along with Ajay Gupta. Their names are very much on this GST copy, which has been accessed by CNN News 18 over here. In this GST copy, in fact, you can see the name of Ajay Gupta is there. As you can see, Gaurav Luthra, he's been named and listed as one of the partners. You have Ajay Gupta, whose name has been enlisted as a partner from Haryana. You also have the 3rd Luthra brother on that GST copy. So 3 partners named in this GST copy. That also includes Ajay Gupta. In fact, as you can see over here, both the Luthra brothers, Gaurav and Saurabh Luthra, both have been named as partners from Delhi. But more importantly, Ajay Gupta's name is also there. Let's quickly take that forward with Simran, and why this matters. Because Simran, just a while ago, we broke the story that Ajay Gupta, in his defense, all he's had to say is that I was just a partner and I cannot be blamed for this fire tragedy in Goa. And this GST copy is certainly going to, in fact, now be questioning the claims that he has been making with regards to the onus and the responsibility he carries at the moment.
Absolutely, Akanksha. In fact, very rightly said. As just a while ago, more on this was being said as to what are his claims now denoting to. Because on the camera, in fact, in the public record, this 6th accused that will be formally now arrested after he has been detained by the Goa police is actually coming out and saying that there is no involvement, as the contradiction has come out in the documents that are for itself to also justify. There is a registration certificate that you have also read out, and very categorically everyone can see for themselves and understand that the legal name under which this business, this nightclub, which was the being GS Hospitality Goa Arpora LLP, list the Ajay Gupta and this 6 accused along with both the partners Gaurav Luthra and Saurabh Luthra as a partner. And that is why, in fact, it becomes very more important, all the more important to have Ajay Gupta at this point in the custody for the Goa police. Because remember, just in the 5-hour time after the incident was reported on a tip-off, these two partners, who are the main accused as well, they just fled to Phuket. And that is why Goa police wants to have more information, wants to establish the links, how the money was being circulated, how the nexus was being operated under the nose of these 3 main heads, along with many people at other designated levels. And that is why these GST certificates do pose a very crucial breakthrough. While we speak of this, it is also important to understand that LOC has been issued against other accused as well. Few of the accused that I would also like to give the information about is Surinder Kumar Khosla, another owner of the nightclub, who's a British citizen as well. Goa police has given on record details, confirmed earlier as well that Interpol Blue Corner notice has also been issued against them. And
we'll have to see how that goes forward. I'm afraid we'll have to leave it at that, Simran. Many thanks to you.
All right, and the fallout of the Goa nightclub tragedy has claimed 25 lives. This fallout is further intensifying. Law is catching up with the fugitive owners, Saurabh and Gaurav Luthra, who fled to Thailand hours after the blaze at Birch by Romeo Lane. Bulldozers have already demolished part of their flagship property in Vagator as authorities tighten the noose further. Goa police yesterday detained another accused, Ajay Gupta, from Delhi after a lookout circular and arrest warrant were issued. Meanwhile, Interpol has issued a blue corner notice against the absconding Luthra brothers, and the Ministry of External Affairs has begun the process of cancelling their passports. Chief Minister Pramod Sawant is set to chair a high-level meeting to review the situation, even as a safety audit committee has been formed to draft new SOPs for nightclubs, for bars and restaurants across the state.
PI and Interpol is also going on so that we apprehend them, and they brought the 2 of them who fled India. We are in the process of getting them back to India, and the other accused also, which are in our radar, teams have been formed and sent to different parts of other states also, and we are after them to book them behind the bars. Actually, they were the operational managers. They had to manage the day-to-day affairs. One had to look after the basic operations, electrical things are put in place, and the fire extinguishers are there. So they were the operational people who were, and each manager had the specific role of the operation of the nightclub. So their role was also found negligent, and that's why they are.
What about the
5th accused, we arrested him from Delhi, and he has landed in Goa, and he'll be produced in the court.
All right, for more on this, we're now being joined by Yasha Kotak live on the broadcast with us from Vagator Beach, Goa. Thank you so much for joining us, Yasha. We've been discussing all that transpired on that fateful night at this particular nightclub. We're given to understand that part of their flagship Vagator property establishment has been demolished as well. What can you tell us, Yasha?
Absolutely. Like you've been speaking about, we're right here at Romeo Lane. This was one of the flagship property at Vagator Beach. However, like you see yesterday, there was an action to carried up by the tourism department right here. In fact, you know, in an exclusive information that we'd accessed yesterday, it was about to be thought that in May 2025 was where a notice was issued to this very club for illegal construction. And which is where yesterday was where this demolition drive has taken place. This is one of the most posh clubs in the area. What we also hear from our sources is that it would have been buzzing all throughout the night. An entry for anyone, you know, would range anywhere between 5,000 to 10,000 at this very club. So yes, among the poshest club here in Goa, In fact, so much so that if you see, it was built in a way to show an extravagant kind of a club, starting all the way up. It was the customers who were brought down all the way here and given an access to this very beach, so beach facing club. But that way here you see that this part, I mean, until the part about the beach is concerned, it is also being followed under CRZ norms as far as the sources based information is concerned. But the part on the beach was considered to be illegal construction because there was no permission whatsoever for the same, and which is why this demolition drive has taken place yesterday. In fact, as a part of the guidelines and teams formed by Goa government, they are now assessing various such clubs that are present in Goa, and these clubs, several other clubs such as this would be under the radar, so as to check whether norms are being followed, whether specific NOCs have been gathered or not. All of this is under the scanner by Goa government now. Yes.
Absolutely. Yasha, do stay on with us. We're getting more information right now as well. According to Delhi police sources, accused Ajay Gupta has been detained in the capital. He had checked himself into a Lajpat Nagar hospital late at night, claiming a spine-related ailment. He has since been taken into custody by the Goa police. If formally arrested, Goa police will seek a transit remand and transport him to Goa, where he is expected to be produced in court later today. So this is the third accused who is also in connection with this Luthra brothers. We're talking about Gaurav and Saurabh Luthra. This is a certain Ajay Gupta that we're talking about, who has been detained. This after a lookout circular was issued against him as well. Now we are being joined by Simran for more on this. Simran, what can you tell us?
Well, absolutely, Hem. In fact, the details that you are putting out at this point of time in this latest breakthrough that has been happened late last night after this accused, who has been on the lookout circular by the Goa police, has been detained in the national capital. He reportedly got himself admitted, now claiming to have the spinal injury in the IBS hospital in Lajpat Nagar. And from there itself, the police had found out that he had got himself admitted, and owing to these injuries that he had cited, now he was detained, and then later on he was produced in he was taken to the Delhi Crime Branch office. In that office, in fact, now the Goa police is going to start soon the process of finally arresting him, and now in that process he is also going to be now being a part of the larger interrogation into many matters, including also the illegalities on which the entire restaurant and the entire Birch was being functioned, and how exactly the Luthra brothers also were tipped off just merely hours after the incident was reported, which helped them also to flee the country. The bigger question largely here also is, what is the kind of information that Ajay Gupta, this latest arrest by the Goa police, that is going to happen, will be now able to give to the police, as the DIG Goa had also earlier in the statement cited that now Goa police is finally in the process to take him into the custody. Today they are going to take the transit remand as well to formally start the process, and now afterwards he will be finally arrested, and an entire scene for what really transpired behind this illegal restaurant that was being operated through years is also going to be unleashed here after Delhi police is also going to be assisting the Goa police in this very matter as the inquiry pertains. More on that, in fact, also speaks about how exactly the Interpol is also being used by the Goa police to track the Luthra brothers, that we have also accessed the images being present in Thailand. Back to you.
All right, Simran, thank you so much for that. Yasha, let me just come back to you. Of course, we're given to understand that Ajay Gupta is the co-owner of Birch by Romeo Lane. We know that the Luthra brothers fled immediately after this incident happened. And does it now appear that perhaps Ajay Gupta has become their fall guy?
Absolutely. In fact, when it comes to Birch by Romeo Lane, what's important to note is that Luthra brothers, Gaurav and Saurabh Luthra, were partners along with Ajay Gupta. Now, when it comes to Ajay Gupta, considering that both Luthra brothers are absconding, in fact, Goa police had further went on to mention that they've gone to Phuket. They've fled to Phuket, and considering a blue corner notice has been issued against them, is where is where the Luthra brothers are being brought back to India very soon, is what the Goa police is claiming. But it's of course a long process. When it comes to a blue corner notice, it is the CBI, the Interpol, which will intervene. They'll have to coordinate with the government of the other countries where they've fled to and then get them back. But so far, when we speak of people who've been arrested, there have been 5 arrests that have taken place, following which there's LOC against 4 more people. Of the 4 people that we speak about, 2 are Luthra brothers. One was Ajay Gupta. Now he has, of course, been detained by Goa police from Delhi, and he's being brought back to Goa. Apart from that, Surinder Khosla, a British citizen, who was actually the owner of the property where Birch by Romeo Lane was present, and LOC against him as well. So, of the 9 people who were under the radar of cops, 5 are employees and 4 are the people who are part of top management. So, of course, with the 3 absconding, 1 person has now finally been detained by Goa police and being brought back to Goa. So it'll be important to understand the line of questioning for Ajay Gupta, particularly because of his role in the top management. Yes.
Absolutely. You also mentioned Surinder Kumar Khosla. I just want to understand. So he is the owner of the land on which Birch was established.
Absolutely. Surinder Khosla is a person, he's a British citizen. He was the one who was the owner of the land on which Birch by Romeo Lane was established. When we speak of Surinder Khosla, he is, of course, among the person who is a part of top management. When it comes to the Goa police, they are also on the lookout for him. But sources indicate that he also would have fled outside the country, considering the fact that he is a British citizen. Now, the club owners, that is Luthra Brothers, they are also absconding. In fact, after they fled to Thailand is where cops are also trying to understand the role of Surinder Khosla, whether he was in the know-how of what Luthra brothers were working on, and whether he was a part of any illegal action. Consider the fact that there are several irregularities, illegal construction that was mentioned at Birch by Romeo Lane. So was he also in the know-how of any of this? Is something that the cops are investigating further. Yes.
Right, Yasha, absolutely. Of course, there's lots that remains unanswered even at this point. Now, let's shift our focus. We'll bring you this investigation that was carried out by CNN News 18 as well. In the wake of this Goa pub tragedy, CNN News 18, it carried out ground investigation into fire safety across India's nightlife hubs. Our reporters found shocking lapses at major party destinations in Delhi and Bengaluru, where fire exits are blocked, safety equipment missing, licenses flouted. Take a look at this.
Birch by Romeo Lane was a perfect recipe for disaster. In Goa's Arpora, what we witnessed on 6th December was actually the catastrophe that is in making in many places in the national capital as well. In the narrowest lane situated in the Hoskas village of the national capital.
Very narrow lanes, whatnot. So people would get stuck here. It would cause a stampede as well.
First of all, we're in central Delhi. Wires are hanging and everything.
I think it's definitely not safe, and to see it happen in Hoskas as well as Goa without there being much of a difference.
It has happened once, and I'm not saying it should happen, but it can happen if regulatory bodies don't regulate this protocol.
How unorganized, unregulated the fire safety checks and the closed corridors for making any fire evacuation or safety protocol plan ready for many restaurants and many hotels here, in fact including the shops, look like. Even on the cobweb of these wires in the narrow lanes, we have many buildings situated next to each other, barely leaving any space for a group of people, or even more than 20 people could be leaving from this point. As you can see, there is this cafe as well, this quirky store present to attract many of the youngsters that are very happy to be present here, even at the time of holiday as well. But this is that point in the narrow lane of the Hoskas village, which is most preferred destination for the holiday time for the youngsters, where we see that to my right, if we point out at any exit or evacuation plan, this is the narrow lane. Just to my right, if God forbid any fire tragedy that takes place here, these are the lines and the wires that are stuck with each other in a building that is just less than a meter away from each other.
Since the time this news has came, there's something in our mind like, okay, we should be together all the time, so that something happens, we should just run away, or we should be check out restaurants which are on the safer side, nearer to the main road, so that we can rush out if something happens.
What happened in Goa was because of the firecracker situation. So they do those animatronics in the restaurant itself, which is why the fire started, and it's because all of those wires were together and whatnot. I believe that if there are such situations, there should be safety protocols in place. If it's a place like this, for example, would you targeted this area with those wires and everything, then it would be really difficult for someone to escape from here. Very narrow lanes, whatnot. So people would get stuck here. It would cause a stampede as well, all of these problems. So I'd rather say that it would be better for them to put in any safety protocols or measures. If something like this happens, should I really be going out partying at night, and then something like this happens, would it really be safe for if I'm going out with my family or relatives or whatever it is?
There is a very shocking data that has come forward by the Delhi Fire Services in the national capital. Now pointing out at the figures that out of the 50,000 restaurants and 1,000 nightclubs in the national capital, only 52 restaurants and 38 nightclubs have a fire safety certificate. What does this signal to? In Hoskas village, where we see a host of nightclubs now making the way for the big, bustling and busy happening holiday season, this is a situation of these areas which lack the fire safety protocols, no evacuation passages.
There's a huge security and an infrastructure lapse because, in a public space, this is happening. This is not right. And first of all, we're in central Delhi. Wires are hanging and everything. I don't think this is a good, place.
It's definitely not safe for them to function without any proper licensing.
The nightclubs and restaurants across the country stand on a knife's edge, with no separate exits and lacking fire safety norms and certificate, with even silent alarms. This is a cause of concern for many nightclubs and restaurant owners, which invite people ahead of the busy winter and New Year season, which is going to see thousands of the visitors coming to enjoy the evenings during the festive season as well. The cause of concern is also lying largely at the data that is presented before us, as the Delhi Fire Services data note that across the national capital, there are 50,000 of restaurants and 1,000 nightclubs largely, out of which only 52 restaurants and 38 nightclubs pass the fire safety norms. What does this signal to? That is a cause of concern and a matter for a larger scrutiny across the restaurant bodies and the government along with the officials. This is Simran with video journalist Rahul for CNN News 18.
All right, more breaking news that's just coming in. Goa Birch Club co-owner and partner, this is the third one, Ajay Gupta, has been brought to the crime branch office for recording a statement. Ajay Gupta told News 18 India, "I was only a partner. I do not know anything else." So this is the statement that he has given after he was brought to the crime branch office for a statement on this entire tragedy. Ajay Gupta has told News 18 that I was only my partner. I don't know anything. Clearly trying to absolve himself of any sort of involvement in this tragic incident. For more on this, we have Simran with us. Simran, there we can see the visuals of Ajay Gupta, the co-owner of Birch by Romeo Lane. He has been brought to the crime branch office. What can you tell us? He says that I have no involvement in this. I don't know anything. I was only a partner.
Well, absolutely. Now he's going to be formally the part of the investigation and interrogation once the Goa police is also going to produce him in the court after taking the transit remand. And that goes on to say that now all of these questions into his involvement and how the money was being siphoned off and how were the irregularities being flouted by Birch, by Romeo Lane, was also that the operation that were being conducted there, and the involvement of the Luthra brothers into those irregularities is also going to come out. As on the mic, in fact, he has spoken to on record that he does not know anything to us, but at this point of time, it only goes on to show that how exactly this arrest that is going to be taking place as a sixth arrest in this Goa fire tragedy by the Goa police is also going to be very crucial, marking a big breakthrough in the entire investigation that the Goa police currently is now undertaking, as there are concerns and also questions while the land on which this entire nightclub was also built has been illegal for a long time, and the battle is also being fought by the original landowner as well. Apart from that, there have been also no adherence to any of the fire security checks, and apart from that, there have been many lapses which even the local panchayat and the head of that Arpora village has also flagged off. So all of these angles will also be in fact taken in consideration as the Goa police is currently now onto this matter. Further, the interrogation with all the accused and the arrested ones is anyway taking place, and this co-partner is also going to be marking a big breakthrough after the interrogation and the investigation formally gets started after taking its transit remand and then producing in the court, and then the Goa police now also wanting to take out more details and in fact taking the investigation on to the next level.
Right, Simran, this is hardly shocking given how hands-off these owners appear to be and how they could perhaps not care less about what has really happened here. This statement that he says that I'm only a partner, I don't know what was going on there, hardly aberration at this point. That being said, we also have this ground report from Deepak Birch. Let's go across to that.
देखिए, बिल्कुल अभी तक इन तीन पार्टनर्स के ही बारे में जानकारी यहाँ पर मिल पाई है, क्योंकि गोवा पुलिस बिल्कुल सावधानी से इस पूरे केस में पड़ताल कर रही है। और जिस तरह से अजय गुप्ता का नाम एक दिन पहले आया था, अजय गुप्ता के नाम के साथ ही ये बताया जा रहा था कि उसकी पार्टनरशिप है, और आज इसने इस बात को कबूला भी है हमारे कैमरे के सामने। और जब हमने उससे सवाल कई सारे पूछे, लेकिन उसने कोई जवाब नहीं दिया। लेकिन जो पार्टनरशिप है, क्या इन तीनों की थी या इसके अलावा कुछ और लोग भी इसमें शामिल हैं? क्योंकि दिल्ली में रहने वाले ये सभी लोग गोवा जैसी जगह पर एक बड़े आलिशान क्लब को चला रहे थे। इसके अलावा कई बड़ी चेन है इन लोगों की, रोमियो लेन के नाम से कई नाइट क्लब चलते हैं और करोड़ों रुपयों का कारोबार होता है। लेकिन सुविधा के नाम पर जिस तरह की चीजें थी वो वहां पर नाकाफी थी, और वो चीज गोवा में देखने को मिली। अब यहां पर गोवा पुलिस उसे लेकर पहुंची है। गोवा पुलिस से बचने के लिए एक बड़ी सबसे दिलचस्प चीज देखिए कि वो अस्पताल में एडमिट हो गया था एक दिन पहले, जबकि गोवा पुलिस उसे तलाशने के लिए उसके घर की तरफ गई थी। अभी ये नहीं पता चल पाया कि घर किस तरफ था, लेकिन लाजपत नगर इलाके में एक बड़े अस्पताल में वो भर्ती हो गया था ताकि स्पाइनल की बीमारी बताकर वहां पर वो जब पहुंचे तो पुलिस के सामने बच जाए, ताकि जितने दिन वो अस्पताल में रहेगा तब तक उसकी गिरफ्तारी ना हो। और इसीलिए क्या वो अस्पताल से भागने की फिराक में भी हो सकता था कि कहीं मौका मिलता तो वो यहां से वो भी भाग जाता।
All right, let's just go across to Simran also, who is on with us now. Simran, I can only imagine what the reactions of the kin of the victims is going to be when they hear that this is what he had to say. I was only a partner, I know nothing else. Now the question here is, how do you just become a partner associated with an establishment such as Birch by Romeo Lane without knowing anything about the requisites, the permissions of such an establishment?
Absolutely, Hem. In fact, now these questions are more crucial than ever before, as Ajay Gupta's arrest right now and his reply is more so on this matter as to he was not aware of what was going on and how exactly has been the fire safety norms that were being flouted, but more importantly, how on this entire illegal nexus, the Luthra Brothers, who have been belonging to Delhi, have been running all of these nightclubs, and on whose help were they actually operating this entire business of hospitality sector in Goa. And Ajay Gupta's arrest right now in this Goa fire tragedy also marks a big update for the Goa police and the breakthrough, as this is going to be the 6th arrest, as I in fact already shared, as Ajay Gupta will be taken into the custody while he has been detained. And there is also an interesting thing to note that while he was being actually tracked by the police, he tried to evade the police by firstly getting himself admitted in the hospital, IVS hospital, Nagar, citing the spinal injury. And that is where in fact the police has also taken the note of, as other arrests have taken place earlier. But this arrest, interestingly, this accused had tried to evade the police interrogation and the custody. While the lookout circular was issued against him, he had been on run since the incident. He was detained in Delhi after he allegedly, in fact, tried to portray it as a medical issue. Ajay Gupta is also a resident of the national capital. He is one of the key accused in the Goa fire tragedy. And I would also like to tell the viewers that when the police team visited his residence, he was found to be absconding. The police first visited his residence, and the Goa police took entire help of the Delhi police. After then, he was found to be absconding. A non-bailable arrest warrant was issued against him, while the Goa police has also confirmed this in a formal statement, while earlier an LOC was issued against him, as the police team had failed to find him at his residence when it visited there. So definitely it is going to be a big breakthrough for the Goa police as well, that Gupta has been detained and now will be formally arrested as per the process and the procedure. Back to you.
Shifting focus to the big story of the day, the fallout of the Goa pub fire tragedy that claimed 25 lives is intensifying. Law is catching up with the fugitive owners, Saurabh and Gaurav Luthra, both of them who fled to Thailand hours after the blaze at Birch by Romeo Lane. Now, bulldozers have already demolished part of their flagship property in Vagator in Goa as authorities tighten the noose. Goa police yesterday detained another accused, Ajay Gupta, from Delhi after a lookout notice and arrest warrant were issued against him. Meanwhile, Interpol has also issued a blue corner notice against the absconding Luthra brothers, and the Ministry of External Affairs has also begun its process of cancelling their passports. Meanwhile, Chief Minister Pramod Sawant is all set to chair a high-level meeting to review the situation, even as a safety audit committee has already been formed to draft new SOPs for nightclubs, bars and restaurants across the state.
CBI and Interpol is also going on so that we apprehend them, and they brought the two of them who fled India. We are in the process of getting them back to India, and the other accused also, which are in our radar. Teams have been formed and sent to different parts of other states also, and we are after them to book them behind the bars. Actually, they were the operational managers. They had to manage the day-to-day affairs. One had to look after the basic operations, electrical things are put in place, and the fire extinguishers are there. So they were the operational people.